I like to, I practice what I preach. Today is my daughter's 21st birthday. I'm very proud to say. I got a lucky, wonderful daughter, and I tried to practice what I preach as much as possible. Our program was embraced by the California PTA. The biggest PTA, except for the national one, in the country, if not the world. And when people went in and said, how can you possibly be in bed with people who want to legalize pot? Their response was, I don't know. They made the most sense when it came to talking about how to deal with kids. We've never gone, I don't usually seek grants from the federal government. I figured I'm blacklisted. I've been told that. But a few years ago, we all of a sudden got a $500,000 grant from the federal government in New Mexico, written in by Senator Bingham, and one of those little earmarks, but this was a good earmark, right? Came to DPA so that we could create the state's methamphetamine abuse education program. Because what we were doing, even while we were leading the fight on medical marijuana and treatment instead of incarceration, we were also leading on the fight about how to deal with addiction to methamphetamine as a health issue, not as a criminal issue. And we were dealing with the issue of what sense does it make to be locking up people who are just whatever for long periods of time. But we were also talking about honest drug education, about getting real. Because what we know is that what young people want is honesty, is the real conversation. And that when you allow that to happen, the kids talk. And the kids get smarter about this stuff as well. I'm not going to make the mistake that was made 30 years ago. I am not going to get overconfident. I am not going to assume that legalization is around the corner. I'm not going to assume that it's happening in 2 years or 4 years or 5 years. I'm not going to get all angry and all upset with, Barack Obama and other things because they're not doing what I want them to do right now. I'm going to be smart and thorough, and I'm going to understand it's going to take a long time, and I understand that I and you are part of a first or a first-and-a-half generation, and we may just have to hand off the baton to the second generation and a third generation. I understand that we are building a movement for the long term. We stand the drug policy reform today in 2009, more or less, where the gay rights movement stood in 1970, and the civil rights movement stood in the early 50s, and the women's rights movement stood in the early part of the 20th century, and even the movement to abolish slavery and the slave trade stood in the 1830s and 40s. In every one of those cases, a growing minority was understanding that what was right and what needed to change. In every one of those cases, people thought you were out there, it would never happen, but people had faith that change would happen. In every one of those cases, powerful vested interests opposed change and appealed to people's fears about their women and their children and what would happen if we let the black man or the woman or the gay man be equal to everybody else. In every one of those cases, the economic arguments were in favor of reform, not in favor of the vested interests. In every one of those cases, these movements fought among themselves and split over issues of gender and class and perspective and credit, whatever, but ultimately understood that you needed to keep your eye on the prize. We are building a political movement. We need to be smart, we need to be tough, we need to be careful, we need to take chances, but take chances that are smart. I think Montana can really play a leading role in America. I am committed. Any place in America where a state is leading the way, is doing something that is new and special, and is providing leadership for others, I will do everything I can to support that. So I just want to say, I think you're all wonderful. I hope you stay free, stay out of jail, fight for the cause, and God bless you. Thanks very much. The most remarkable gathering in the world for people who care about this, every 2 years is an International Drug Policy Reform Conference. It was in New Orleans 2 years ago. It's in Albuquerque this year, November 12th to 14th. Now, if you can make it, the whole spectrum, across the political spectrum, the drug use spectrum, you name the spectrum, is going to be there. So go to the website, go to drugpolicy.org, sign up for our emails if you can, think about coming down to this conference. It'll blow your minds. It'll be something you've never seen before.
I would just say I was honored to be a speaker at the conference in New Orleans, and what Ethan said just now is an understatement. This international gathering was an extraordinary event, incredible learning opportunity. I think you can see why I was so thrilled that the schedule allowed him to come to Montana to talk to physicians. He talked to a couple hundred physicians and nurses today with a message not quite the same as what you heard, but very important, powerful message for them. And I just wanted to close by saying, nobody comes to Montana for Patients and Families United and leaves empty-handed. We have for Ethan.
I can't take this on the same with
We have a T-shirt for Ethan. I know Ethan is an outdoor recreationist, very much in love with hiking, and he's spent his entire time here in hotel rooms. And he's leaving tomorrow morning for a drug conference, a very important drug conference in El Paso. And so he's not going to get to hike here. So we asked everyone here tonight to autograph this photo book, which will acquaint you with what the kinds of country you could see if you did have the time to hike. And it says, somewhere here it says, come back to Montana.
Thank you very much.
And we also know Ethan is not just a rabble-rouser, he's also an intellectual. So we bought him the finest literary anthologies, Guide to Montana.